Hi everyone, this is Maria Almanzo Maripa Social Media, and I am here because I wanted to talk about something that happened last week with a young lady that committed suicide. And I think this is a very important thing because the young lady was a very young lady, and her name was Alexandra Valoras. I believe her name was Valoras or Valoras. She was a very much a straight A student. She was a overachiever, and basically, she was a good kid. Her parents spoke with her and just she was an older child, just heartbreaking. CBS was the one who reported this news, and this news was reported last week, and I just saw her video just now about how she had a journal and how she self-loathed herself, even though she had accomplished many things during her life, like, relating to school. She was very much a straight A student. This Alexandra seemed a very happy young girl, and that's what her parents said, that they had no idea that their child was going to commit suicide. And that night when she did, or that day, she fixed her bed neatly and went out and never returned. Her father found her on a roadside, and in her belongings was a journal. And in that journal was like 200 pages of how she truly felt about herself. And they had no idea. I'm about to say something that's really out of line because sometimes we are blindsided, but here are the questions that I'm about to ask because I think that they're very important. She was an overachiever, and I'm wondering to myself as I'm reading this story and hearing it here on YouTube, I was wondering, was this child a child that really spoke about what she liked and disliked, even though she was speaking to her parents? Did this child live a normal childhood or a normal upbringing? Sometimes we want to please parents so badly that we don't dare say anything that might disappoint them. Since she was always a very happy girl and an overachiever and winning, and getting a lot of probably awards and, just that's what it is, the perfect child. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who have those kinds of children because they even said it in the report. There are a lot of kids like her, and she was one of those kids. Was she a popular kid? Did she go out with other girls her age? Was she allowed to hear, music? I saw in one that her father took her to a concert, and she said she hated it. And she hated the fact that she couldn't say that she hated it. And so all this time that she was showing a face, like Sometimes we have that fear that we don't want to disappoint our parents. We don't want to hurt them. We don't want to, you know, be what they want us to be. And to me, when they were interviewing the mother and the father, as they were interviewing them, and I saw that they were such in pain that even though they had spoken to their daughter on a daily, apparently she had her own journal that obviously they respected, of course, up until her death, because her mother said that it just was off, you know. This wasn't the girl that she saw. This wasn't the daughter that she saw, you know, in front of her. And that her daughter kept a journal of 200 pages of self-loathing, you know, of self-loathing and of not no worthiness. And she, while she was, you know, doing all of this, you know, all of this pretentious, not really pretentious, but just, you know, a face of, here's one thing that I'm presenting, and here's the other, how I really truly feel, and couldn't express it. And of course, they didn't know the signs because she was always happy. And so while they were sitting, you know, and talking to her and making sure that her mental state was good and that they had a communication on a daily, I guess that communication was not enough, because I'm guessing, not that she felt this way, I am guessing, okay? All of this is by guess, because of what I saw, she felt like if I expressed everything that I feel, that I would disappoint my parents. If I express that I like a certain band and maybe they don't approve of it, and that was a disappointment, because in the pages she said that she was lazy, nothing that she was, because they said that she was a very motivated, inspirational young lady who inspired others to do just as good as her. And she, you know, was she really living a normal girl life? What did she have friends? You know, they didn't really get into that. Did she have friends? Did she have a best friend? Was she always alone, you know, reading, and while doing that, doing her journal, you know? Because this is the true self of the person that expressed it on her journal. And she expressed that every day. And you could see pages and pages, 200 pages of literally of how she felt each day. So I don't know, I don't want to assume, but I'm guessing that she had a lot of feelings that she couldn't express, and that she expressed it. She wasn't meeting her parents' expectations. I felt that her parents are good parents, but also keep in mind that she also has 2 more other children when you see the video. So, you know, the clip of CBS when they gave the interview to the parents, the reporter who reported the interview, who gave the interview, had asked, had said that the parents, you know, they're taking it day by day. Sadly enough, a death that really, I'm guessing that has impacted a family, and that they never expected that to happen. She did say in her journal that she didn't want her family to blame themselves. Okay, she wanted the hurt to go away. And I guess that she felt like, that was the way. In that report, I'm gonna put it, suicide is a real issue because, like we know, we don't know the signs, and sometimes we think that we know a person and we think that we know how they truly feel, and deep inside, we don't. It's unfortunate that they had to lose their daughter so young, and it's not because they failed to not communicate with their daughter. But I am thinking to myself, at the same time, was this child living a life that was normal? Was she allowed to even express, or maybe she felt like she couldn't express what she liked and what she disliked? Because we all have a different way of thinking, and not everyone has the same mind. Okay, if I express myself and how I feel, will I get reprimanded for it? Will they judge me for what I truly like? I don't see this, and this is the problem that, we don't want our children to hang out with kids or wrong kids because they, feel like if they hang around with certain kind of kids, or, they go out, that they won't continue to, finish their studies, and, and just, parents feel like, they want to overprotect their children, in which, that's each parent's decision. And I'm not going to dictate how a parent should raise their child. But but however, I felt that, in the video, did she really have a close friend? Did she really go out? Was she the kind of girl that maybe wanted to express how and what she liked? And obviously, that wasn't the case. So she felt like she needed to put it in a journal, and which is totally fine, but unfortunately, her parents had to find out too late, and unfortunately, it led to her committing suicide. She felt probably very overwhelmed in her decision, in which I don't know how she felt. It's just that I'm going by what was said, and I'm going by what the journal, part of the journal said. And so I felt this way. I felt like maybe there was an underlying of that, could she express herself, and that since she was an overachiever, a straight A student, a child that was the perfect, she put the perfect image and the perfect facade in front of her parents so that maybe perhaps she wouldn't disappoint them. And, sadly enough, it led to her decision to commit suicide. Suicide is not going to take away the pain. Suicide is not going to release nor your pain, nor your family's pain, because now they lost a daughter, and a daughter they will never see again. And the only thing that was left behind was how she truly, truly felt. It's not their fault because they had no way of knowing. But for parents who do have overachievers, because these are kids who are smart, they're actually very brilliant, and but they also have sometimes problems in trying to express how they really feel and what they want and what they don't want and what they like and what they dislike. And so sometimes we want to make decisions for our children just because they are a certain way. And we have to give them a chance to express themselves and make decisions on their own, regardless if it's going to hurt us. If it's in danger, if it's for, like, if they're going to make a decision that's in danger of their life, of course parents have to intervene, because I'm not with and I'm not down with anything that's going to harm a child. I'm not down with that. And that parents, if you see that your child is in some kind of danger, that they're not in the right group or they don't have the right friends, and I encourage that parent to find some way for their children to disengage in any kind of bad groups of other kids who. Also, the fact is that this is a very good point, and what I wanted to make out, because even though she was an overachiever, was this child pushed, was she bullied? By the way that she was speaking about being lazy and that she was a burden, I don't know where that came from, because it didn't seem like her family were the kind of family that didn't pay attention, So I don't know where that came from, the lazy and burden. Could their child have been bullied in school? Because sometimes overachievers, that they are considered nerdy, or they're considered, like too perfect, or they're the good student, and we don't want to hang out with her or him because, they think they know it all, she was even part of a club, and I don't even know what club it was. So she was very, very active in her school. She was a very active student, very active, very intelligent. She won a lot of awards, a lot of, when I say awards, like she won a lot of accolades. I say accolades, I say awards, I say, a lot of merits. So it wasn't like this child was not active in school. It wasn't like the parents were not active in the sense of her schooling. But I felt like maybe on a personal level, we must all connect on a personal level. I have my niece and my nephew, and I always tried to say I love you, and I didn't feel like that she was in lack of love. I felt like she was loved in her family. Because they have 2 other children, so. But this is a reminder to all of us that sometimes what we see from the outside is not necessarily what's going on in the inside. And that since they're so tender at that age, 17, and they're undecisive and they feel awkward and they feel like, well, maybe this is why if I'm acting a certain way and I'm hanging out with my parents instead of friends, or I should be having more friends, and why don't I have friends? Why, she probably was feeling a lot of the things that young ladies were feeling, like she wanted to hang out. I see hang out, but go out with friends. It's the wrong word to say is hang out, but that's bad. We don't want to encourage children to be hanging out in the corner or hanging out. That's not the proper word. But going out with friends, and having a good time, going and see a good movie, going out for a dance, and I do this video because it's very important that we not only are up to par with our kids' schooling, but also deep down inside, we don't know. It's like it's very hard to sit down with a teenager and talk to them, because sometimes they will express their feelings more with a best friend or in a journal like she did, and not express it to us because of fear. I can understand that. One time I had my niece, long story short, she wanted to hang out with her friends, my niece. She was very young at that time. And I am, I let my, if I had kids of my own, I would let them do what they want as long as they're not in danger. But however, she asked me to take her to a club, okay? I did. I took her to the club and we ran. It was so weird because she asked me. In a way, I was happy that she asked me and that she didn't ask anybody else. It was behind my mom's back, my mother's back, okay? So she trusted me. I kind of like that. It's nothing that I didn't do when I was 15. She was very young. She said, Auntie, Maria, I want to go here. I want to go to this party. I want to go to this party. My friends are going to be there. Okay, so, I'm there and I'm fighting with her. Why didn't your friends come and pick you up? And she's like, no, because they didn't have room. And as she's talking to me, she's saying to me, no, they didn't have any room for me. They didn't have room for you. Okay, so I left it like that. I left it like that because I wanted to get her to the place where she needed to get to. So she did. She got there. I said, call me back if you need me, if they're going to bring you back. Okay, so I left her, but I told her, if you're going to come back with your friend, are you going to come back with your friend so that I can, come back and get you? She said, no, my friend just told me that they couldn't take me in the car. Well, will they have other friends in the car? No. The parents are gonna come and pick her up, or him. I think it's a her. Oh, I said, did your friend invite you though? Yeah, she did. She invited me. I said, well, if your friend was a true friend, you wouldn't have to hide behind, my back and mom's back. Just say, she should have come and picked you up, like she's the one who's making the invite. She's inviting you. So, I can't hang out here all night. And as I told her this, I said, she really your friend? Do you really think that she's your friend? She looked at me and she didn't answer me back. And I said, true friends always have each other's back, just like I have your back, because you're my niece and I love you. I'm your friend, I'm your aunt, I'm your mother, I'm your everything, because I raised you. But I just want you to think about that. Is she really your friend? Because she invited you, but yet she's not willing to take you home, and she doesn't live far away from where you're at, obviously. And she said, no, she doesn't. I said, okay. I went back home. I went to pick her up. I said, Lauren, so you coming back? She said, no, I'm not coming back. I'm not going to go back. I said, why? Because I thought about what you said. And she really isn't my friend. I guess, they had a good time. I don't know. I didn't ask. But she never went back. I don't know whether she remained friends with the friend that invited her. Doesn't really matter, but the point is that she expressed her feeling. And I made her decide on her own. Sometimes when we push a child to be a certain way, it doesn't work. So instead of pushing your child to not do this, not do that, we all have this child psychology. And sometimes it works and sometimes the kids are very smart today. They're so smart. They're incredibly smart. Kids are incredibly smart today. So I don't think that reverse psychology really actually works unless you're really an expert at it and they're not really paying attention. But always have your child make the decision and ask them, that's your decision and you feel that it's the correct decision, then I stand by you. But like I said, back to Alexandra, Valoras, I felt like she since she was an overachiever, she didn't want to I felt like she felt like she was in a box and she couldn't express how she felt because she felt like maybe, perhaps, maybe, she felt like she would disappoint her family. So if she showed some kind of, um, another side of her that she probably wanted to express but couldn't, that her mother and father would disapprove of her going out, or her hanging out with, or going out with friends, or her liking different kind of music that probably her family liked. Now, I don't know what kind of concert it was, but if she hated it, maybe she wasn't asked, is what I'm trying to say. Was she asked, do you want to come, and not, and not be reprimanded because she would have said, no, I don't like it. I don't like that band. Those kind of little things like that, that. So we got to be very careful, because our kids, I say our kids because I feel like, like that could have been my niece or my grandniece, or, I felt like that was the thing that probably was going on with her, and that it overwhelmed her to the point where she despised herself or loathed herself, in which, unfortunately, we can't change that kind. I don't, yeah, we call it mental issues, and it is an underlying of a more deeper issue. And I'm not a doctor, so I can't examine on how she felt. But by what the little that we saw on the clip, I felt like maybe she wanted to, show a different side, and that probably she felt like she couldn't, and that she had expressed those feelings to her family, that she felt that she would have let her family, or her mother or her father, down. And what I mean by that is, if she behaved in a different kind of way and liked her, liked things that she liked, that probably her mother and her father would not have approved. But I feel like this is not this family. I mean, it looks like this kind of family really sat with this girl, and they just didn't see it. They didn't see the signs. And she was always a happy girl, but deep down inside, she really wasn't. Anyway, this is what I wanted to say, because the young lady committed suicide, and I urge that if you have a child, or if you yourself are a teenager, don't think that suicide is the way out. Talk to your family, talk to your mother, talk to your father, talk to a friend, but don't commit suicide. Suicide can be prevented if we take we take action, to prevent suicide. Don't feel like you're alone, because you're not. Regardless if you have differences between your mother and your father, just remember this. In time, because we all feel over. I remember being that age, and I remember feeling awkward. I remember I was not a very good kid, and I felt like I was always alone. I didn't have any friends. I never went to my prom. I graduated, but I've never had a sweet 16. So, I didn't have any friends. I wasn't in a clique, and I was not a very pretty girl, So I had all those issues going, and I was just like every other kid who kept it inside. But instead of writing a journal about it, I expressed it through anger, and which is not good. So, but not like my mother didn't sit down with me every night and spoke with me. It's just that, like, again, we have certain kinds of parents who are not very agreeable to how we think.